Check out Drem fake world record on YouTube and see how this guy got exposed for faking a speedrun. Drem? What? Wasn't it called Dream? The speedrun we watched a while ago?
It was me!
Oh.
It was me!
Drem, Minecraft fake speedrun.
Minecraft speedrunning has been a booming subject as of recent. It seems like everyone is trying to get in on the action. A lot of YouTubers are beginning to see speedrunning as a way to grow. The biggest category in the spotlight has been the random seed glitchless any % run in Minecraft versions 1.9 and above. Just like any speedrun category, however, there have been cheaters. Cheaters are nothing new to speedrunning, neither are they super uncommon. Usually, however, cheaters try to be smart and cautious about how they approach it. The more subtle you are, the more likely you are to get away with it. We'll be talking about a run that attempted to be subtle, but was not subtle in the slightest. Before we begin, I just want to give a disclaimer not to go after this guy. This is not supposed to be a hate mob. Just take this video as a video to watch, and nothing more. Also, huge announcement. I now have a Badline cloak. Description. And I recommend you join the Discord to find out 16. An important update for speedrunning. This update provided 2 new ways to consistently obtain ender pearls, the warped forest biome and piglin bartering. At long last, there is a quick way to obtain ender pearls. Before the update, most speedrunners would either 1. Trade with villagers in 1.14, where there are unlimited trades and trade professions, or 2. Find a looting book in a desert temple and use it to kill endermen. The second strategy started to gain prominence after the speedrunner fruit berries suggested its viability, and Dream managed to snag the world record in 1.15 with this strategy. Now that ender pearls are easier to obtain, that should make speedrunning easier, right? Wrong. In updating the Nether fortresses became even more rare. This is why, even though 1.16 should hypothetically lead to the fastest speedruns yet,
yeah, no fucking shit, dude.
Are on it. Notably, about 4 days ago, German speedrunner Nice Twice managed to beat the record by almost a minute. This just goes to show how much of a time save 1.16 can bring. The amount of RNG now needed may have made the run even more tedious, but the potential for time save over the other versions attracts speedrunners everywhere. The recent release of Minecraft version 1.16
no, Nice Twice wasn't the cheater.
Speedrunners who want to break the world record, and the person we're talking about today falls in that category. A small user looking for glory. Speedrunning is a tedious process, and it can take days, even weeks, to find a good seed to speedrun. There are just so many factors in place. It requires
Damn, this guy is citing my life story right now.
Respect the people that do it. Unfortunately, impatience led this person towards the dark arts. The dark art of speedrun faking. Now let's take a look at the speedrun in question. The cheater creates a new world, and we see the first piece of evidence against them. Hold it! Watch it again, then compare it to how the loading screen is supposed to look.
I've seen so many loading screens, I didn't see shit. Can you just fucking say, like, they're expanding in the wrong area or what?
When the cheater started up the world, the loading screen began in the center. In the other video footage, you saw how the loading screen looks whenever you load up the same seed. No matter how many times you load up the seed, the loading screen always begins in the bottom left corner. Try it for yourself. Here's the seed on the screen, and you will see. In a follow-up video, he claims that the loading screen is different when you first load a world and when you load a set seed, but this is false. I created multiple worlds randomly and copied down the seed. When I did this, the loading screen was always the same, corner-wise. Ironically, in his follow-up video, when faced with this fact, he tried the same experiment and found the same results as me, only he ignored the biggest detail, which is the corner where the loading screen begins. The corner will always be the same, whether it's your first time looking at a seed or you're loading in a specific one. In the loading screen of the actual speedrun video, it starts in the center instead of the bottom left. Just from the loading screen alone, we can tell that the footage has been spliced up to some extent. While we don't 100% know the extent exactly, a lot of people have a good idea of what the reason for this was, so that he could load a specific seed that he practiced over and over again. What evidence do we have of this? Well, the speedrunner Dream commented on the video, pointing out some suspicious things that happened. Besides his comment, there are even more irregularities from typical speedruns that make it questionable. Let's keep watching. First up, he runs straight to the nether portal that generates. Next, he breaks down a tree. After that, runs to a shipwreck, then breaks stone, then goes to a village. First, let's point out what's not evidence against him. While you could say that it's too lucky to be true, that's the whole point of a world record speedrun. When a speedrunner finally gets perfect luck in their favor, they have the opportunity to get the world record. That's literally the entire point. However, when you examine the speedrunner's behavior, it looks a lot less like luck and more pre-planned. The way he went straight to the nether portal is nothing out of the ordinary. It was one of the first things that generated, and the chests often have useful materials. Pro speedrunners usually look at their surroundings first, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Then he goes straight to a tree. Again, nothing strange. He passed by this tree when he saw it in plain view. It's natural behavior. What is less plausible is how he found the shipwreck. When most speedrunners find savanna biomes, the first goal is to search for a savanna village. While he does go straight towards the savanna biome, he noticed and turns to a shipwreck after it was only in view for not even a second. If this was legit, this suggests that he was paying close attention to the ocean, which, based on the thought process of most speedrunners, would make no sense. You could argue that he was going straight to the savanna biome before the shipwreck was in view, and you'd be right. But then that raises the question of why he wasn't paying close attention to the biome instead, to look for the village.
Why would he pay close attention to the biome if it's a fucking hill in front of him? He can't see shit over the hill.
Doesn't add up.
That's just
again,
fucking retarded from whoever this guy
It's
is.
in the realm of possibility. He grabs stuff and gets stoned. Some people were suspicious of the way he went straight into the chest area of the ship, but that's not entirely unreasonable. It's possible that he's familiar with the structure of various shipwrecks, which is unlikely, but again, possible. The next part is another irregularity. Remember how I told you how speedrunners look for savanna villages? Well, this section makes no sense if it was truly random. The cheater runs straight towards the savanna village, even before seeing it. Not to mention, the savanna biome is here. Why wouldn't he go straight into the savanna biome that's in his sight? Sure, the village is in part of the savanna biome, but how would the runner even know that from what he could see? Not to mention, this entire time, he never once stopped to look at his
I don't know,
surroundings.
I would never
went
walk
straight
on the
towards
side, I would
structures
walk in the
or
fucking
wrong
middle.
direction of them. Let's take a look at some of the
For as
other parts.
long
He breaks down a
view
savanna
distance
house
as
with
possible,
wood
right?
instead of breaking down
Why would
all
you
the wheat,
walk along the
demonstrating that
shore?
he isn't super
Makes more
familiar
sense
with
to go in the
road.
middle.
Oh, and by the way, up to this point, the cheater never even had a personal
I'm not saying he's
best
not
of the
cheating,
game.
I'm just
You
saying
mean
that
to
his
tell me
arguments
that
are
the
shit.
first ever recording of you beating the game, you managed to beat every single speedrunner who's been doing the same run much longer.
You don't need a
more
savanna
optimization,
village, you just
even
need
if
a
this run
village.
was legit. That in itself is fishy. Most people who complete world record speedruns have at least a record of them beating the game. This of course isn't always the case, but at the very least, there aren't a lot of suspicious occurrences. But again, let's look at the run itself. The next issue is the nether. The runner once again doesn't look at the surroundings. The nether is usually super complex, especially in this update, where nether fortresses are super rare. You have to be vigilant, look in every direction to make sure you don't miss anything. The fortress could be anywhere, you never know. He takes a linear approach to this non-linear dimension. The implication is that the run was already pre-routed. This was not speedrunner behavior. Moving on, when he gets the final blade,
Yeah, that's kinda weird though.
He goes straight towards the nether portal, going as far as to break the netherrack in the wall to go back. This is not natural, no matter how you try to put it. Even somebody with photographic memory would go back the route they came. How did this runner know exactly where to go, to the point where he was able to create his own route back? He says that he knew where the portal is because it's a small area, but again, he managed to pave his way back to the portal without ever having taken a look at the surroundings. He went straight back, not even the way he came. It really wouldn't be suspicious at all if he didn't dig straight into the wall. It's in the speedrunner's best interest to go back on the route that's already been proven. Again, It's not suspicious that he found his way back to the nether portal. It's suspicious that he didn't go back the way he came. When he goes into the overworld, he starts running in the direction of the portal before throwing the actual eye of Ender. Okay, but how about we entertain the idea that it was a coincidence? Perhaps he was only going towards the village to get beds for the dragon fight. Reasonable, right? Well, after he starts going in that direction, he realizes he should get beds, meaning that could have not been a reason for him to go that way. It's almost as if he did this run so many times, he already knew which direction to go.
We need the beds. Shoot, I forgot about beds. Okay, where is it? Okay.
But once again, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. What happens next though is the second biggest problem with this entire video. First we need to talk about triangulation. Triangulation is a method used by speedrunners to find a stronghold. Essentially, when you're close to a stronghold, you throw two eyes of Ender at different locations and dig down to where the two imaginary lines meet. But here's the thing. You begin the process after your eye of Ender changes direction. Almost every successful speedrun uses at least 3 eye throws. The only way this wouldn't be necessary is if an eye traveled in a straight line, revealing either the exact X or Z coordinate, but this wasn't the case, it was diagonal. This runner somehow managed to not only find the stronghold in 2 throws, one of which was a so-called triangulation throw, but he also dug straight into the portal room, not paying attention to any of the other structures he dug straight into before. Let's take a closer look. First off, one thing I should note is that you don't triangulate a stronghold with your first eye, especially when you detour in a village, since you're inevitably gonna be off. You use the first eye throw to go in the general direction of the structure. Because humans are imperfect, you'll almost always be slightly off track. The exception is once again when the eye goes in a straight line, something that didn't even happen. Triangulation usually begins when you notice the eye change direction. The second throw, the first of the triangulation process, happens when somebody thinks that they're near a stronghold. Now, when he thought he was near, he only threw 1 eye of Ender. 1. And you can't say that this was proper triangulation because 1. The place he dug down wasn't even where he thought that first eye of Ender's path was. 2. He didn't go in the direction of the eye of Ender, which should point to the entrance of the stronghold. And 3. Even if he was thrown off by the confusion of being hit by the skeleton, he veered slightly off the path he supposedly thought he was following. These are highly suspicious circumstances, and even for pro speedrunners, the throws he made were not enough to triangulate a stronghold. When he digs down, he digs straight into a mine shaft, completely ignoring it. This is not speedrunner behavior, because if any speedrunner found the mine shaft, they'd immediately look around to see if it was connected to a stronghold, especially at Y44. He defends this all by saying that he was nervous in the moment, but even a nervous person would have at least looked around for a second, especially because there could be nearby mobs. He mined down 3 more blocks before noticing any stone bricks, meaning that he literally didn't care about the mine shaft having a potential connection to the stronghold he believed to be nearby. It would have been one thing if he accidentally mined 1 more block, but 3. He had to have mined down deliberately, knowing that there was something underneath. He says that he was lucky as a result of his bad judgment, but again, he didn't even do the proper triangulation technique that he's claimed to learn about. As far as the run goes, there's nothing else of note. The evidence is clear that he spliced at the very beginning. There is no doubt that this run was faked. The runner claims that it couldn't have been spliced because the run is all on one file, but that argument literally makes no sense. It's entirely possible and even reasonable to believe you spliced the run and rendered it as one video file. Don't believe me? Well, guess what? You're watching this video, and we can all agree it is way more complex than a spliced speedrun. It has images, different video clips. I went ahead and rendered the first minute as a video. Once that was finished, I imported the result into this very video's project file. I cut it down to a sliver and was able to drag it out to see the rest of the video. And keep in mind, my video is way more complex than his. I rendered it as a single video, so it will show up as a single video, not in segments. The runner made a response video to all the allegations, which is actually the reason why I waited before making this video. Thing is, this video doesn't really say much in terms of addressing the biggest claims. When reviewing his run, he completely ignores the issue with the loading screen and gives a lackluster defense for his nonsensical so-called triangulation technique, saying that he learned it from Dream and that he was super nervous. As I mentioned earlier, he shows that when you load a certain seed, the loading is always in the same corner. He was asked to record himself loading the seed and for some reason declined. He was compliant when talking about everything else, but for some reason didn't want to record himself loading a hand-picked seed, which, if he was innocent, should put him in the clear. He completely ignored that and brushed it off. The cheater tried making the point that he couldn't have found the seed because it wasn't on Google. Do I have to point out that Minecraft seeds don't originate on Google? What, do you seriously think a seed has to be on Google to be replicated? That really doesn't make sense. He then tries to claim that by the same logic, Dream's run is sketchier, which once again, doesn't make sense. Dream has hundreds of failed speedrun attempts, and has a good reputation within the speedrun community. Call me crazy, but I believe a person who comes out of nowhere to break a record after 5 days of attempts, whose video is riddled with a bunch of strange occurrences, is far sketchier than a person who is already established as a well-known speedrunner. From the very beginning, you can tell that this video is fake. It doesn't take a genius to tell. And I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt at every single possible turn. The loading screen tells us that his run is objectively fake. What separates this so-called speedrun from actual speedruns are all the weird circumstances. A different load screen from what the seed is supposed to have, the ability to tell the direction of the nether portal through the wall, somehow digging straight into the portal room despite butchering the triangulation method and finding a mine shaft above. From the load screen alone, you can tell it was fake. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So what do you think? What do you think about this run?
I think it was fake.
Anyways, that's it for this video.
The fucker is a kid, you know. Like, all kids cheat at one point, right? Who hasn't cheated in a video game ever, you know? I have. Fucking Counter-Strike. Roughly at that age. Only public servers though, because there was no ranked back in my days, so it's kind of whatever. Speed hacks, baby. I don't even remember what hacks I had. I mean, I think it was just wall hack and aimbot.